Hello and welcome to my podcast. It's only me. There's no other guest stars. Like Jeff Brody or Jeff the car. It's just me. I want to talk about Honda. The new NSX. New Honda NSX, or actually the 2017 Honda NSX by the time this comes out. Not it wasn't new for years, I just realized. I'm still calling it new. Uh, I just want to talk about how it's a terrible car and why no one should buy it. So, like, it's how much is it? It's like it's how much is a Honda? It's 160,000 for a new Honda NSX. Now that is, the specs you get with it. Like, you get 191 miles per hour, 3.2 seconds 0 to 60, as determined by the Grand Tour, because Honda wouldn't tell them. Uh, This guy, 573 horsepower. Now, if you want to buy a supercar for $160,000, you can also go with a McLaren 570S. It's another somewhat cheap sports car. It's got 562 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds as well. But the difference is the McLaren is, let's see, how much is the McLaren? You can get the McLaren for, well, it's not much cheaper, right? What about a Porsche GT3, Porsche 911 GT3? Because that's another sort of high spec car. There's a fly in here. There's 502 brake horsepower, 197 miles per hour. It's $161,000. Now you compare that with the Honda. And the Honda is could have so much more power for that price. Like Lamborghini Aventador, it's like 200,000 and it goes 217 miles an hour. Better comparison would actually be the Dodge Challenger Hellcat, because that's only like what 60 to 80 grand, and that goes 199 miles per hour. Sure, it doesn't have the 0 to 60 time, but it definitely has top speed down. It's way more practical than the NSX, and also looks a bit better. The only good point I can find about the NSX is its usage of electric motors, even if I hate electric cars. Yeah, currently, and also its styling, which is it's pretty nice. But I believe in all terms that the old NSX is better, because this ties into a point that I want to make, which is Honda has not the only good cars Honda has made is it's 1992 NSX and the NSX GT, because every other thing that Honda has done is it's ruined mankind. It's like with Toyota. Like Hondas, they've given us the Civic and the Odyssey. Those are two abominations. Toyota, they gave us a lot. They gave us the Prius of all things. They started that whole hybrid garbage about how we need to go electric and green to save the planet. They gave us the Leaf, the car that's about to be discontinued when electric chargers get upgraded. Uh, what else did they give us? Oh, they also gave us the Supra GR, a hideous new car, because they saw the Dodge Viper and they're like, oh, that's so cool. We need to try and copy that, but fail miserably, and they did. Because if you compare it side to side between 2017 Dodge Viper SRT ACR, which is a really good car, it's like you don't really have much practicality with two seats, but with that huge trunk space, you've got a ton of room. You can put a suitcase back there, or if you messed around with it, you could probably extend it. Because I imagine that wheelbase is not as big as Dodge claims. You could extend it, fit two suitcases in there. You could have a good car for the weekend, you know. But and then you have the Supra, which is just this ugly, underperforming car. Because you compare it to the old Supra, which was modern supercar, high end sports car, and the Supra is just this $40,000 piece of garbage that has less power than the Mustang at the same price, and it's just It's why would they make it like that? It's stupid, you know. Sorry, I was cleaning my ear. But anyways, uh, so like Honda, they're gonna start. My theory. This is all a theory, but I know this is gonna happen. This is all what happens. This is what always happens when people make these theories. They say, "Oh, that's not gonna happen," and it does happen. My theory is that Honda, they're gonna, because they already own like the electric generator industry and the buggy industry and the boat industry with like motors and such. They're gonna start expanding like the toothbrush industry, the dental industry. I already said that. They're gonna expand to like the food industry. They're gonna start making salmon, Honda sandwiches with the Honda logo branded into the bread. You know, they're gonna start making Honda clothes. Oh, they already do that. Never mind. They're gonna start making Honda shoes, Honda guns, Honda games. You know, Honda branded Xbox. Yeah, they're gonna have all sorts of Honda branding, and then they're gonna try and take over the world using Honda. So like Tokyo City in Japan it's gonna start slowly. We're gonna turn like Tokyo City in Japan into Honda City. Honda Toyotas are going to be outlawed there because it's no longer Toyota City. It's like when criminals take over a neighborhood, they like all the previous criminals aren't allowed to be in that neighborhood. Except this time it's just going to be Honda because Honda is going to rule everything, and it's just going to be a massive thing. It's going to be like the second world. It's going to be like a third world war except it's Honda, and then in Europe they're going to become these like Ferrari and Fiat and Porsche and McLaren who are like, what on earth is going on in Japan? We need to put a step down on this. And then Ford's gonna be like, no, we'll be fine. It'll all be fine while Dodge and Chevrolet are protesting massively. It's just like it's gonna go down. Then Honda, they're gonna take over China. They're gonna turn it into Honda Land. You know, they're gonna enter a war with Holden and I'm trying to think of the other names. Well, not CSV. That's not one. Commodore. Well, no, I don't know. They're gonna enter a war with Holden, and they're barely gonna win, but they're still gonna get beaten badly in Australia because they're not ready to take on a U. They'll come up in like their Honda Tundras and then just fall into the massive void that is not Australia, because Australia is not real. So you know, like they're gonna take over everything, you know, and it's just gonna be a massive battle for like Honda dominance, you know. And Honda, they're gonna try to invade the U.S. and then Dodge is gonna show up and kick them right out because Dodge will show up in like their Hellcats and their Challengers and their Durangos and they'll just kick them right out. And Chevrolet's gonna try and get them into Canada, but Dodge is gonna have to put the foot down and keep them out of Canada. It's gonna be this massive war, and then they're gonna try and invade Europe. And Ferrari, they're gonna be like, well, crap, this is not going well. We need to form an alliance. So they form an alliance with like Lamborghini and Fiat and GTS and Alfa Romeo, and they all fight against Honda. But Honda is stronger because it has the Civic. It has this massive army of Civics. Like the Lamborghinis and Ferraris, they have power, but they don't have a whole lot of units that can use that power. So they lose to the Honda. But what they do, is because the Honda doesn't quite understand Italian culture, they lay traps of spaghetti, and when the Hondas are eating the spaghetti, Lamborghini sneak up behind and rip out their turbochargers and their carburetors and all that kind of green garbage. Uh, and they laugh at them when they can't start their engines because they don't have enough battery cells. Uh, and then they win back Europe because they are. And then Honda tries to invade Russia and they win because who is Russia? Russia only has the Lada and the Yugo. How on earth are they going to stand up against a Civic? The Civic, the Civic isn't that powerful, but it's so much more stronger than a Yugo or a Lada. But it's just going to be a massive world war, and it's all going to go down for like 10 centuries. And when it's all done, like there's going to be a great battle where like the Dodge, Jeep, Ram, because Chrysler had surrendered, so they get kicked out of the group. Like Dodge, Jeep, Ram alliance, and for the remainders of the European car alliance with like Lamborghini, Ferrari, and Fiat, they have to work together to defeat Honda in like the year 3242, because Honda is trying to take over all mankind and all space kind, and they have their crush Honda and the last Honda, and then in the peace terms, every single Honda Civic has to be destroyed because they can't risk having another uprising of Honda for like 1,000 years. And that's basically what's gonna happen in like 2 years. I'm calling this now. They're gonna start a war. They're gonna invade Japan. They're gonna take over Toyota City. You see, it's already catching on. You're starting to say Honda City. You know, it's just gonna be everywhere. It's gonna happen. Trust me. Believe me. Believe me. Another thing I want to talk about is how Porsches are basically overpriced Beetles. Because if you buy a Porsche, you buy what I had mentioned earlier, the Porsche 911 GT3 RS. You could buy an old Beetle, upgrade it significantly, like give it like a Ford Focus engine, because the Focus RS can fit in there because it's a tiny little V6 that fits in the hood of the Focus. Cram that in there, you've basically got a Porsche 911 because it's the same shape, So like, you take that and you put massive wing on it. You give it like new racing stripes and new wheels, and you've got your own custom Porsche 911. It's just that simple. Trust me. I know this stuff. I worked at Porsche for 2 days. Porsche actually designed the Beetle so they could rip it. They actually stole the design from Volkswagen. You may think that they're owned by Volkswagen, but they're not. They're actually owned by McLaren, who is owned by Bugatti. And McLaren sent Porsche on this like top secret mission to steal a bunch of designs from Volkswagen. So they went and they accidentally stole the Beetle instead of like the ID buggy. And they were like, ah, crap, we stole the wrong design. Well, guess we gotta use it now. And so they gave it like a new stripe, they gave it new wheels, and they labeled it as this new car. But here's the thing, it isn't. It's a Volkswagen Beetle at the center of it. It's just not as tall, which is hilarious because being not as tall means you're shorter, which is funny because that means you're a midget. And I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that word on YouTube, but I'm pretty sure I am. But anyways, don't buy a Porsche 911. Go buy like a Volkswagen Beetle and ruin it, or turn it into a beach buggy. Who knows? It's up to you to decide, I guess. If I had my choice, I would make the Porsche 911 GT3 illegal, because Porsche is a redundantly stupid idea, aside from like the 918 and the 917, because those are the only good Porsches to ever exist. The 918 is good because it utilizes the electric motors like from a Rimac, which is the only good electric car currently. Utilizes them to go really fast for its price. Like only $800,000, but you get 0 to 60 faster than you can beat a Veyron. It's ridiculous. Like, no, you won't really have it in speed, but you'll have it right off the bat where you can beat a Veyron. And it's just ridiculous. Like, you can do that for that little money. But anyways, I believe that everyone should buy a Porsche 911 GT3. No, not a GT3. Should buy a Volkswagen Beetle. Yeah. That's the end of my podcast. Thank you for listening to episode 1 of my podcast. Next time we'll see about maybe having a guest star. Who knows? Maybe it'll be the guy that mows my lawn. See you next time on my podcast.